Hi, folks. Today we got a special treat. I was chilling out down here at Russell Harbor Landing in Milton, Florida, and the FWC periodically comes down here and pretty much, does releases or research and stuff like that. So hopefully these gentlemen can identify themselves and tell us kind of what they're doing here today.
Sure. I'm Bradford Warland. I'm an associate research biologist with the FWC in the freshwater division.
My name's Calvin Beach. I'm a freshwater fisheries biologist with Garcon Point out of freshwater fisheries research at here in Milton.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to pan away real quick, look at your vessel, and then whoever wants to speak first, just kind of tell us what you're doing here today, please.
Sure, yeah, you want to describe
Yeah. So this is an electrofishing boat. We use it to sample all kinds of stuff in the freshwater. Today we're doing broodfish stuff, looking for striped bass for the hatchery out here at Blackwater. This boat works by we turn this generator on, and the power flows through this box, and then out into these booms. These booms are actually the cathodes, and the boat would be the anode. So the power goes out through these booms, and then it's grounded back to the boat. And any fish within the field would be pulled to the boat. It's stunned temporarily. We dip net it and put it in this live well where it comes back to. Today, like I said, we're doing broodfish, so we're looking for large, mature striped bass, females and males. If one is shocked, it'll be dip netted, put in this boat. We'll check it for viability and see how ripe the eggs are. And then if it is a viable female or a male that is flowing milk, we will haul it to the Blackwater hatchery where it'll be spawned and the fry will grow out in ponds. Then they're put in this hatchery truck and then brought back to the river.
Okay, can I take a quick look at your setup here? That kind of looks electronics, kind of scared the heck out of me because
The older the box, the better it works.
is that, yeah, okay, there you go. I wish my body worked like that. But all right, so like how often do you do this?
Yeah, so I mean, specifically broodstock collection, it happens for about a month-long window throughout the northern Gulf Coast. That's just when the temperatures are right, the solunar phases are correct, where those striped bass, the eggs in the females start to get ready to drop. They start to mature inside the female, and then the males start flowing milk. And then they typically run up the rivers, hit a barrier or a shoal or something where they congregate in groups and get ready to spawn. And that's just the window where we can go get them and bring them to the hatchery, and they're already in the right stage to be spawned in an artificial setting. But as far as like the striped bass research as a whole, we're doing that year round. We're putting acoustic transmitters in the striped bass and tracking them around the rivers and throughout the bay here, just to figure out a couple things, their general habitat use in our system, where they're finding a thermal refuge in the summertime. They kind of need spring water influence that cools the water for them, otherwise they won't make it through our hot summers. And we're making sure we can identify the habitat, make sure it's protected, and there's enough of it available to our striped bass populations. So that's kind of we can look for striped bass year round, but specifically looking for broodstock collection, it's just about a month-long period.
Okay, very cool. Now I'm going to ask a two-part question. And when you were on the phone away from us, we were chit-chatting a little bit. So I guess the first part of the question is, do these striped bass have any somewhat similar characteristics to like salmon that go back upstream and return to their birthplace or anything like that?
Sure.
And then the second part question, I have to ask this because I'll forget. You talked about, you said transmitters in
Yep.
some fish. So like, do you do like a handful or do you do thousands, or what do you do there?
Sure. So the first part, do they have any relation to salmon? I mean, not genetically speaking, they're pretty far apart from salmon, but they are an anadromous species of fish, just like a salmon. And that just describes this migratory life cycle where they're born in a freshwater river. Once they become an adult, they'll swim out into salt water to feed and grow at a higher rate because marine systems are a little more productive than freshwater. And then when they're ready to reproduce, they're going to run back up into the rivers to spawn. They don't die like the salmon where they make one run and then die.
Yes, sir.
The striped bass can do it year after year, but generally speaking, it's the same strategy of life.
What's the traditional, and here I jumped to question number 3 without giving you the opportunity to answer the other question. What's the lifespan of like a striped bass?
It kind of varies depending on the river system, especially because of in the Gulf Coast here, we're like at the extreme edge of what a striped bass can handle for temperatures because it gets hot here. Our systems are Blackwater River has got to be one of the coolest rivers along the Gulf Coast. And don't quote me on that exactly, but we have a lot of spring influence here, and it runs pretty cold, generally speaking. So our striped bass here, we've aged a couple over 10 years old.
Okay.
Which is pretty old, compared to some of the other Gulf Coast rivers where striped bass might top out at 4 or 5 years old before they die. That's about how long they live. That second question you asked about the transmitters.
Yes, sir.
We are tagging about 20 a year right now. They're not very cheap, a couple $100 a piece for the transmitters. So
Okay.
We can't put thousands out. We have pit tags that we'll put in the fish. That's kind of like a chip that you put in a dog.
Yes, sir.
Where you can scan it. Those are really cheap. We'll put as many of those in as fish we catch. But for the acoustic transmitters that we can actually track them around our systems in, they're pretty expensive. So we're limited to about 20 a year for this project.
So if like the average Joe citizen like me, if I caught one, would I know there's one in there, or like is there like a tag like the CCA does or anything like that?
Yeah. So we'll externally mark them with a tag, and it has a phone number on it that if you called, you would be routed to our office where hopefully we would come and be able to get the tag back from you.
Okay.
So it happens. We've had 3 or 4 captured this season.
Nice.
And we got the tags back from them.
So, let's say you're successful today and you stun some of your striped bass, and you return them back to your aquatic research facility. How long does it take to complete the process that you're trying to achieve here today?
For spawning?
Yes.
Yeah, about a week or so.
That quickly?
Yeah, it's pretty quick because we're looking for there's like stage 1 through stage 4 for egg development, how they describe like how far along the egg is inside of a striped bass. We're looking for a pretty late stage fish, so that way we can bring them to the hatchery. They have some hormones that they can give those fish to make them mature even quicker. And generally speaking, within a week, they'll be able to get those fish to spawn completely. They'll mix the eggs and the milk in a container to fertilize the eggs. And then there's a whole other process that I'm honestly not an expert on because I don't work in a hatchery, where they aerate those eggs, they keep them turning, they turn them hatch them out into fry, then they stock those in a pond. That whole process takes about a month because the pond, they need to grow out for around 30 days or so.
Okay.
But the adults that we take, after that week, I think they might hold them for a couple weeks and then just release them back.
Okay, that's
the
cool.
Fries generally harvested from the ponds, I think, the last week of May, due to temperature and the ponds heating up, and then they're distributed to the rivers they're stocked in.
Very cool. Very cool. So, how long are you just out here until you reach your goal, your limit, or whatever?
We have some spots that we have a pretty good idea of where the striped bass should be this time of year.
Okay.
So we're going to go check those, and if they're not there in high numbers, then we won't be out here for 8 hours today looking. There's some areas that they should be, and if they're not there, then we'll pull the boat back out.
We use our acoustic telemetry to inform us about where these fish are and when they're making their migratory move up to spawn. So we can look at our data and either manually track or just download some of our receivers out in the river and see where those fish are at any time. And then once they make that move upriver, generally with a flow of high water, that's when we're targeting them, like this week and next week.
Nice. So, we're talking here, and hopefully the thumbnail is going to be the picture of your tank over there. How often are you going to do releases like this? Like when you do the releases, like is it a regular day of the week or anything?
The juveniles you're talking about?
Yes. You release from the tank over there.
We have a requested number of fish that we're trying to stock into these systems, and the hatcheries will ship us batches in a trailer like the one we have in the parking lot whenever the ponds are ready to harvest. So some of them, the latest they'll harvest the ponds are the end of May, but some of them are going to be ready a couple weeks earlier. So as they harvest the pond, they will ship that group of fry out to whatever system is next in line to get the fish.
Nice.
It's not really a predictable schedule. It depends on the season, how hot the ponds get, how much rain we get, and all that. So I wouldn't be able to help you out with scheduling when they're going to do a release for you to be here.
Right.
Sometimes we don't even know when it's going to happen.
Right.
But it can happen a couple times. Just they know how much are going to be in a tank. it might be 40,000 one day, 40,000 the next day. That'll get to 80,000, which might be what we ask for this river, and then they're done.
Okay, very good. So, man, I appreciate you guys for your time. This is so unexpected and something I wanted to, like, I didn't understand this part, what you're doing, the A to Z portion of, you're at the A point, I guess. And so that's kind of new to me, and you really educated me and hopefully a lot of the viewers. So we thank you for your time and hope you guys have a great day. Thank you.